speaking out two things. One is that you can very easily drop G part of it. So you can simply call me Vinay because I can see the effort that you have to put in adding G. I know it's not so common in US to call anybody with G. And the other thing is that maybe we can change the screen of Arshvidya and take some other screen, which is either your face or my face. So Saurabh, can you change the screen?
I'm sure. What would you like? You would want to share your screen, Vinay?
I would like to, whoever is speaking, that person's screen would be best to be there on this on the monitor.
You mean the video or?
Yeah, video.
Okay, so Meenu, if you could stop sharing the presentation, I think that will do.
Yeah, because what is now there is sort of disturbing to the listener. Yeah, and so whoever is speaking, either Charlotte or myself, we can have that one larger. Okay, so I haven't made any preparations as to where to begin and where to end. And I would probably be, would need to be asked questions, which yes. I can respond to. Okay. And probably you will enjoy that too.
We can do that. Yes, we can easily do that. And as a matter of fact, since you mentioned it, you know, Meenakshi has created a beautiful slideshow for us. And the first, I mean, with all due respect, I would like to say that my intention is to start from the beginning. So there's a slide of you as a young man. And I think that if Meenakshi can get that back up, or Saurabh, that would be, we've got a sequence here. So I wanted to just talk about your beginnings. So you have your formal education as an engineer, and I was just wondering from that path, how did you manage to become a Jyotishi? Where did you first encounter Jyotish? This seems like a big discrepancy between engineering and the sacred metaphysical science of Jyotish. So that's my question.
Yeah. You see, when I entered into the study of engineering, I didn't know what engineering was. And when I entered into studying astrology, I didn't know what astrology was. If I knew, probably I wouldn't enter in either. In engineering, I went when I was only 16, 17, and that was the in thing at that time for anybody who scored well. Either he would go into medical line, he would become a doctor, or an engineer. Those were the two respectable subjects in my time. By my time, I mean when I was about 16, 17 and going to college. Having arrived in the college, I realized it was the wrong place for me. And I just I didn't like most of the subjects of engineering that were being taught. My natural inclination was towards humanities and the arts. So I scored very well there and not so well in the engineering. But somehow, by sheer, I should say, grit, or by sheer luck, I passed out and have a degree. And that degree has not really been all that useful to me because I never practiced engineering. It was first used by Chakrapani Ullal when I visited Aqua for the first time, and he introduced me and he said, yes, he's an engineer from IIT Kanpur. IITs are very prestigious institutions in India, and he brings a certain mathematical and scientific attitude towards astrology, and Ashtakavarga is the subject where you need that kind of approach. So right. That was the only time when my degree was used. Otherwise, all my life, I have done without the degree. But I'm still very grateful for the institution where I studied. I would say any education, whichever field one gets educated in, that is useful. And it's an environment of learning. Having made a lot of friends who are still my friends, I understood what is the meaning of scientific temper. I understood the meaning of what are the limitations of that scientific temper. And over the years, I also realized that most scientists do not have a scientific temperament. They are as blind as probably astrologers. They are as blind and as biased as a political party worker. And their attitudes are mostly um, unscientific. And one of the examples I can easily narrate is that many years ago, a bunch of Nobel laureates condemned, they signed together a statement which condemned astrology completely. And one would simply ask, have you studied it? And obviously, they were Nobel laureates in their own fields like physics, chemistry, and others. None of them had studied astrology. Yet, they were stupid enough to sign that statement. So, that I would call the incompetence or arrogance of the scientific temper. I could muster up the courage to say so because I had some training in the scientific subjects. I understood what are the methods that science uses, for which I have a deep respect. I'm only talking about the practitioners of that science, that they are human beings and they are as biased as most human beings are for certain things and against certain things. And it is for the astrologer to understand what makes him biased towards certain things and what makes him objective. What are the limits of being objective? And where does subjectivity starts? And things like that. So those things became my subject of interest at that time rather than hydraulics or integrated circuits and, and things of those kind, or structural engineering. Those were the things that did not interest me. One of the teachers of hydraulics in civil engineering asked me, you're answering my oral question. It was an oral examination after the written examination. And he said that you're not answering my questions properly. I will have to give you an F. Our institution being American sponsored in the beginning, we had the same grading system as A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. I told him, sir, there is no point giving me an F because I would never get interested in hydraulics, especially the way you teach. Your accent is so horrible that one doesn't know whether one is speaking English or Tamil. But I assure you, and I make a solemn promise in front of you, that I would never use hydraulics in my life. So you get me out of your system and don't bother about me failing or passing. And he very kindly gave me a D, and I passed out.
Oh my goodness.
So that was the story of the engineering days. And right in those days, when at the age of about 18 or 19, I got interested in palmistry because palmistry, like astrology, was essentially a subject of psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what interested me. So I started studying palmistry, made a small group of other fellow students who studied palmistry, and we all realized that there were severe limitations to palmistry. And we were all told that astrology is the one that's really much deeper and much wider, and it has the answers to everything. So after so many years of that, when I heard that in Delhi, where I live, there were some classes that were started by Bharati Vidya Bhavan, or ICAS as we call those classes, I immediately joined, and that was in 1990. So my love affair with astrology is as old as 1990, not as old as yours, but well, at least 30 years it has been. So initially it was studies, then along with studies, I started teaching in the same institution. And my first and the most impressive, I'm saying to my mind was very impressionable at that time. Our teacher was Shri K.N. Rao, a very famous astrologer. And then subsequently, I learned a lot from many other gurus. For example, Justice S.N. Kapoor, Shri J.N. Sharma ji, and I would say above all, Dr. K.S. Charak. Dr. K.S. Charak, because it was easy for us to approach him. He was more a friend than a teacher, and whatever he taught, it was more in a friendly banter rather than as a proper guru and shishya kind of thing. And that learning has continued for all these years. And I keep clearing my doubts with him. I keep clearing my understanding of the classical stuff, especially what Parashar has said about this. And what I am thinking, is it against Parashar? And he's the touchstone which I can always rub my knowledge of astrology and understand where I really stand. So, and his has been the longest influence on me. We agree on most things, but on just certain things we don't agree. And he has allowed me to disagree with him. That's very kind of him.
Yes, very kind of him. Well, that is an interesting trajectory. I have to say, Vinay, that you must also be psychic, because I have a list of questions for you, and you've already addressed them in the exact order that I have them written here. So congratulations on that level. But I want to comment on your comment about the Nobel laureates condemning astrology. I remember I was a practicing astrologer back in that day. That was 186 scientists condemn astrology. I think it's just about time for 186 86 PhD or holders of doctorates to come out and endorse astrology. I think that's about time to do that. But that's scientists' job. Scientists are ruled by Saturn, aren't they? And it's their job to say no, or something is not true, whether it's factual or not. But I wonder, Vinay, since you obviously found, almost in spite of your formal education, you came into the sacred sciences. I wonder if you would be interested, if you would share with us anything in your birth chart that could give an indication of why you took this path, why you went so far off the path of the straight and narrow.
I think one thing that is there is that the language in India is slightly different from the American language, and there I see that you are speaking the American language. That is, why did you choose this path?
Yes.
I would say this path chose me, and I didn't know whether I'm doing it by choice or by certain compulsions unknown to me. But it happened. And I don't think anybody really chooses to go there. If at all, it is the other forces which are not visible, which probably cannot be calibrated by the scientists. Those are the forces that bring somebody to the study of astrology. And same thing happened with me. While it is a bit of an anathema with me too, to discuss the personal horoscope, but since the question is very straightforward, the answer is also very straightforward. That I started my Jupiter's Dasha, which is the fifth lord in the fifth house. And being a Leo Lagna, it was also the eighth lord. And it is situated with Mercury and the ninth lord Mars. So now that I'm more accustomed to the meanings of these planets and the houses, etc., I would think, where else would have I gone if not astrology? Then the Lagna Lord is in the fifth house. So there is a combination of 4 planets in the fifth house. And most of them are connected with astrology. The ninth Lord, the Lagna Lord, the fifth Lord, the eighth Lord, and also the 11th Lord. So it was probably the natural path for me without my knowing it. And of course, for the first few years, I would not be able to put a finger on what brought me there. And the question wasn't too strong in my mind. When I joined it for fun and let's see what it is. And after 3 months, I realized that I can't make predictions after 3 months of studies. What kind of a science is this which cannot teach me predictions in 3 months' time? So, and I still say after 30 years of studies that I haven't yet learned the art of predictions. Many people learn it in 5 years or 3 years or even earlier, but I'm still groping in the dark, and I still find new techniques, new ways of learning or understanding things. So, and I realize that the more I know about astrology, the more I don't know. And that's a kind of tautology to which I have been exposed through astrology. Others may have been exposed to the same tautology through other means. And when I hear a good teacher speaking about a particular subject and going into the depth of it, and which I think, oh, I never thought of that. That's when the ignorance hits me hard, and then it tells me, come on, dear, you have a long way to go, and you better keep learning. And I'm glad that there is always an incentive, though a bit hidden and though not too obvious most of the times, and that is that whatever I learn, I have the advantage that I can pass it on to my students almost immediately on the weekly basis or on monthly basis or on yearly basis. Like if I go to Arshvidya Gurukulam, mostly I pour myself out or whatever I have been thinking about a certain subject or whatever new I have learned. So I don't think that happens with every astrologer. They don't get that opportunity to exercise that. And I enjoy sharing that with my students and with my fellow teachers and discussing with him. So it gives me great delight to follow that path. Not by choice, but it happens. If there is a Jupiter in the fifth with the ninth lord, then you naturally would be attracted towards these very subjects. That's what I believe.
Well, from the little that I know about you, that what you just said isn't it wonderful that there's such a compressed code in what you just said, that you have well, I'm paraphrasing, but you have a Sun Mercury Jupiter conjunction in the fifth house, and you know that you laugh a lot. I think that's a wonderful. I like that about you, and you're a natural born consultant and teacher, obviously. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but so I think that from your frame of reference, from your point of view, it was your destiny. It was your destiny to become a Jyotishi. So
and it is destiny. It is the destiny that leads you by the nose. Yes. If you follow it, if you don't resist it, then it will land you where you belong. And that's fine. I personally had always that attitude rather than, very specifically for specific reasons, choosing a path. I'm reminded of when you were mentioning these 4 planets in the fifth house. I'm reminded of a class that I was taking many years ago, and I wasn't too well prepared for that class. Normally I do prepare, but that day I was not. And I was supposed to be teaching yogas. So I put up a yoga on the board, and then I searched in my mind, what example can I give to my students? And then it struck me, oh my God, I never thought so, but this yoga exists in my chart. So I put up my chart without telling the students that this is my chart. Then the next yoga, I forget which yogas were those, but one after the other, the yogas came tumbling out of the book. And the same example that I drew on the board, that was my own horoscope, had all those yogas. So I was surprised that day that I never had discovered these yogas in my chart, unless forced to today because I was unprepared. So that was an interesting thing that, well, I suppose people who come to astrology, they do have many, many yogas that support astrology. And what they do with the astrology is a different matter. Different people do different stuff with their knowledge and with their interest in astrology. It happened for me to teach, and which I had never thought that I would teach. I didn't think that it was in me to be able to teach. I didn't have the confidence to do it. But the moment I started teaching, I started really enjoying it. And then, the journey started and continued.
Well, and that's natural for you. You have all those planets clustered together in Sagittarius, right?
Yeah.
As you said, thank God for Jyotish. I think the same thing every day. Gosh, what would we be doing with ourselves if we didn't study Jyotish day and night for decades and lifetimes? But I'm hoping that perhaps some of our listeners would have a similar combination, and that they would be encouraged to pursue their own study of Jyotish. I'm a big advocate of developing the next generation of Jyotishis. The world is in such sad shape these days. We need good Jyotishis to help sort through some of these things. So thank you. I do realize that it's a little bit of an imposition to ask about personal factors in your birth chart. So thank you for your candor and sharing that with us. I'm always fascinated about what particular planetary combinations produces a Jyotishi in the 21st century. So thank you for that. You're the right person for the job. So I did want to ask another a kind of a fun question about your background. I read something online about you encountered a Chaya Prashna specialist somewhere, and I was wondering, now it may be that as you mentioned, my accent, as you termed it, my accent is not pronouncing the word for shadow properly, but that's an interesting obscure experience.
Yeah, surely it was. And probably that also left an impression on my mind that such things were possible. And he was known as the Chaya Shastri. If translated, it would be called the man who knows the shadow.
Okay.
That would be called a Chaya Shastri.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took an appointment with him. I was in Bombay working at that time. And a friend of mine told me that someone like that lives a small distance from her house. So I went to him and he asked me to stand in the sun and measured my shadow. And then he made a chart. I mean, he scribbled something. I didn't know it was an astrological chart or anything. And then he started making predictions for me. And all those predictions have come out true. I should say now, nearly after 50 years, I don't find anything wrong that he said or anything vague that he said. Everything that he said has come out true. But of course, those were few and far between things, because a lot of other things have also happened which he didn't mention. And obviously, he cannot be charting out in detail all my life, but he did say some very important things. Much later, I realized that probably by measuring the shadow, he was fixing up the lagna for the prashna. You see,
Isn't that
Prashna
fascinating?
Lagna is a very tedious subject, and there are as many astrologers, as many practices of fixing the Lagna,
Mhm.
because people would be coming one after the other within a gap of maybe half an hour or 1 hour. So how do you fix the Lagna? So there are various methods of doing it. So
Mhm.
I think that he probably did it with the shadow. I wondered how his business would do on a rainy day, but he was known as a Chaya Shastri.
Wow. It's
And I told that whole story of my visit to the Chaya Shastri to a roommate of mine at that time. And the roommate was a shippy. You know, he worked at a ship. So
Oh.
he was in merchant navy, and he was home during holidays. So I happened to tell him the whole story of my visit to this Chaya Shastri, and he said, "Give me the address. I also want to go there." So
Yeah.
he was a younger man, uh, and he also went there. And when he came back, I asked him, "What did he tell you?" So he said, he told me that during the last 1 week, you have slept with 3 women, and to one
Yikes.
of them you haven't paid.
Wow.
And he told me all this in such colorful language that I cannot repeat that.
Yes, please don't. Oh, that's,
Yeah.
oh, Lord. Well,
So what the hell? How did he know this? And one of them who was not paid was actually a cousin.
oh, oh, Lord.
So, of course, many years later, I realized that this was possible by a prashna. Maybe there were 3 planets in the seventh house of the prashna chart or whatever. But that man had that mastery to be able to tell such details.
It's
To me, he was more generous. He outlined my life rather than, the last week episodes.
good. Good. That might be too much information. Well, so
Well,
Vinay,
that man also told me that your wife will have a cross on her mount of Jupiter. Incidentally, by that time, I knew fair amount of palmistry, and that
Mhm.
was around 25 years of age. And so when I came back to Delhi and I was shown a couple of girls who might be prospects, I would, rather than look at their face, I would look at their palm and figure out whether they had a cross on their Jupiter or not. And once I found that girl who had a cross on the Jupiter, I said yes. And then that girl has been my wife for the last 46 years.
Oh,
So that man
congratulations.
was accurate, but there I pursued, I would say, that wherever I did find the cross, that girl was rejected. And you might find this a bit strange, but in my times, let's say about 50 years back, most marriages were arranged marriages.
Of
So
course.
girls were, told by family members and other friends that go look up that girl. Now she's come of age and she's from a good family and she's educated and this and that. And go see her. And if you like her, then say yes, we will organize your marriage. So that's how it used to happen in those days. Now that doesn't happen even in India, mostly. Um, just a moment. Yeah.
Well,
So, uh, uh, but the fact that he could read into my uh, prospective wife's hand and tell me so, that still amazes me.
that is
And the
impressive.
meaning I knew about the meaning of that people who have Jupiter cross on their Jupiter mount, those people are happily married. So it went well with me, and I searched for it, and I got one.
Oh, congratulations. That's so important.
And
Well,
what happened? What happened was, when I was looking at her palm, the people around, the other family members, started laughing. And I was getting annoyed. What's so strange about looking at the hands, looking at the palm of the young girl? Then I came to know that her mother was an expert palmist herself.
Oh, cool. Well,
So later on, we would keep discussing various aspects of palmistry, and I would say I learned from her also.
well, it's a small universe. That's wonderful. I wonder if the Chaya Shastri predicted that you would become a world famous author. Did he predict that you would become a specialist in Ashtakavarga and write dots of destiny?
Well, I think being that specific, or that you would become an astrologer and write on such and such subject is not expected from any astrologer, whatever his technique. But I must tell you another encounter with another astrologer. He was called a Nadi astrologer, somewhere deep in a small village in Rajasthan, one of the desert states of India. And he told me that you will be doing astrology. Well, I was already doing astrology at that time, but I wasn't too sure that I would pursue it all my life. And I'm narrating this story from about 15 to 20 years back. And he told me that you will teach internationally, you will visit many countries in that connection, you will have many foreign students, you will write books, and even your students will write books, and you will have a good body of students who would learn from you. And I've been going around to the Gurukul for the last 20 years. I have been to BAWA, that is the British organization. I've been going to the German organization. Well, I taught with Aqua on 2 occasions. So, and at the Gurukulam, at the Arshvidya Gurukulam, I do have quite a few students who have been coming for the last 20 years. I'm sure they come not just for me, they come for other teachers also, because very good knowledge transfer is happening there in those conferences. But that's a fact that a lot of foreign students are, I'm teaching quite a few of them. And this venture of Meenakshi and Saurabh is bringing me more foreign students, or even people who are from Indian origin, but are now NRIs or practically foreigners now. They are coming in these classes. So that prediction has come out absolutely true too.
Well, I still, every day I hear stories like this, and it still amazes me the brilliance of this symbol system, the brilliance of Jyotish, to be able to, it's like an MRI of your karma, isn't it?
I don't think the scientists have worked out an instrument which can do this.
No, no.
Maybe astrologers should design an instrument of that kind.
Well, we already have one. It's, yes, but well, could you tell our listeners who don't happen to know what Ashtakavarga is about it in just in brief? It's such a wonderful measurement system, isn't it?
Well, you're asking me to repeat, which I have been repeating for the last so many years, over and over again.
Well, you could give us the,
because somehow people have associated me with the subject Ashtakavarga as if I know nothing else but Ashtakavarga.
Oh, well,
and that does bug me a little. So wherever there is a chance, I rather speak on other subjects than Ashtakavarga.
Okay.
But just in a few sentences, because this platform is not for a long discussion on Ashtakavarga, obviously. And that is that this is the only system in any astrology, Western or Indian or Chinese, which has a digital base.
Right.
And it provides a certain number to certain things. Therefore, it becomes an easier thing to deal with numbers. And a whole wonderful system has been derived from a very complex situation of transits. and one can work with the numbers and come out with some absolutely stunning predictions. And it's a special tool which is available to any discerning astrologer. And by using this tool, one can pinpoint on predictions as well as quantitatively and qualitatively, and certain things to draw your attention immediately without going into details. That is the number
Okay.
that is associated with a house. So that is the advantage. Wherever you find high numbers, then you know that this house is going to prosper. But more than that, what draws the attention of the astrologer is the poor marks, poor
Right.
numbers like 20, 21, 22. I was teaching my regular class today the horoscope of Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, and we found that he had only 20 bindus in his fifth house. His marriage was practically a no marriage, and he doesn't have any children. And he has 17 bindus in his 12th house. So no marriage, probably no sex or little sex, maybe outside the marriage. We don't know about that. But the fact is that there is no supply of regular sex to him, and he has only 17 bindus, which are rather low. 17 is phenomenally low numbers. And he has some very good numbers in the 9th house, in the 10th house, and especially the 11th house. So all those houses are flourishing for him. So Ashtakavarga is that thing that can draw your immediate attention, and then you can work upon whatever comes to your mind first. You can confirm further with where is the Lord and where is the Karaka and where is this, where is that.
Okay.
So that's a great technique.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for indulging me in asking that very obvious question. But I wanted to just elaborate, if you would comment on. So if you see low numbers in a house, do you prescribe remedies? I'm very interested in what contemporary Jyotishis are prescribing as modern remedies in case we don't have access to a black water buffalo to donate in charity.
Well, charity is one form of remedy, and that can be a remedy for anything and everything. You don't have to pick out Sun or Mercury or Saturn to prescribe for. So that's a universal remedy. So that's perfectly fine. And I am not too much into remedial measures. I have learned very few. I have indulged in gems, and I do recommend gems to some people gently, without really pushing them too much into gems. And I do use Ashtakavarga, but only as one of the techniques to figure out what is deficient in this person's chart, and which if supplicated would help him. So the Ashtakavarga helps me choose the relatively low areas.
Okay.
And then either I would suggest a gem of the Lord of that house. And there are so many, various things that one does with finding out what is to be done, what kind of remedy will be suitable to him or her. And of course, the best are the mantras that are associated with each planet, because one thing is there that they hardly ever give you negative results unless overdone, and most people underdo rather than overdo those mantras, and all those black magic kind of remedies I don't believe in, but that believing is a matter of ignorance, I would say. It won't make a difference whether I believed in them or not believed in them. I haven't tried. I have not been attracted towards them to learn about them and then practice them and prescribe. So that's a dark area in my practice, that there are not too many remedies that I can suggest. I do suggest the psychological remedies because that's my area. I do tell them what kind of thinking he or she has to overcome or change. I
Okay.
do tell that this is the way you have been thinking, you are thinking, and that's an unhealthy thing. That's not a wholesome way of thinking. So you try and change it, and how you can change it. Not through the gems or the other remedies, but essentially through, let's say, meditation, or there are many
Correct.
other psychological courses
Yes.
which are available to today's people, which were not there when we were younger.
Well,
Uh,
that
Very
is so
many,
true.
very wonderful classes are available nowadays to correct your way of thinking.
Yes, that is the
Some
essential.
religious, some non-religious, some yogic, some non-yogic, but some wonderful material is available nowadays.
Yes, we're fortunate in a certain way to live in these.
No, in fact, I am underlining our misfortune, because when we needed them most, at that time nothing was available. And
Oh,
now so much for the younger people, so much is available.
well, good for them. I hope they put it to good use. We could certainly use some remedial measures these days in society. And speaking of which, if just to veer off the subject a little bit, now I've changed my mind about this. I was going to ask you about the medical applications of Ashtakavarga, but I'd rather see if you would like to comment on the current COVID-19 pandemic. I'm wondering if you have anything to offer in terms of what you believe was the genesis of this problem, or what was the planetary combinations that involve the entire globe in this contagious problem. Was it Shani and K2, or Shani, Pluto, and K2, or I mean, do you even want to comment on that? I'm sure you'll
Yeah,
tell me if you don't.
uh, I would say it's more a conjunction of Jupiter and Ketu, because Jupiter is Jiva and Ketu is the small Jiva. It's the viral at a very microscopic level. When you see Jiva, then Ketu gets connected, and Jupiter Ketu would indicate a very, very small Jiva. Well, COVID virus has been called non-Jiva. It's just a protein which becomes active and which becomes a Jiva once it goes into your body. So that's a different story. But the rise and fall of COVID has been associated with Jupiter's going over to the next sign and getting retrograde and then coming back, and then slowly Ketu fading away from Sagittarius and things like that. So I think the story of the rise and fall of COVID is related with Jupiter and Ketu mainly. Saturn is comfortably, for most of these times, has been comfortably away from all this controversy. But it is Jupiter's affliction by Ketu that has certainly caused this. And I was quite worried about this for both, for India as well as US, because the US has its Lagna. Many people believe the Lagna is Sagittarius.
Yes.
And so there the whole drama of the Jupiter Ketu was being enacted. And eventually one of the worst sufferers has been US, and the story is not yet complete. It's still unfolding. And the other thing was that India's chart, the independence chart of India, that has Sagittarius in its 8th house. So there again, I think Jupiter, Ketu are playing havoc. And the good thing is, I mean, the bad thing would have been, because we are so populous, that if there was a more rapid spread of this in India, maybe not just lakhs, but millions of people would have died. And it still cannot be ruled out. It may flare up even now sometime. But I think the worst days are over. And I did make some study with it and figured out some Ashtakavarga numbers also 2 months back, but they are not present in my mind now.
Oh, well, I understand how that works.
Yeah. The only thing that is present in my mind is that India's second house is Gemini.
Mhm.
And that's where the Mars is also there. And Mars is a Maraka, it's the 7th Lord and the 12th Lord for India. And this second house has only 19 bindus.
Ah,
And Rahu has been traveling there.
yes.
And now in a few months, when Rahu moves away from there, it will be coming on India's Lagna.
Well,
Yeah. So we really have to take a deep breath, just as you have done, and be prepared for something which can be disastrous. Maybe a flash, a big flash can still happen because the numbers are increasing. As the testing numbers go up, so are the COVID numbers go up, and quite steeply. The only fortunate part is that there are not so many deaths.
good.
Either it is due to natural immunity living in poor conditions, or else most of the Indians are using the Indian domestic, the kitchen ingredients which improve your immunity. That has
Right.
caught on in a big way. So maybe a lot of people have been saved by that.
Yes, I hope so. You know, there's a resurgence of that even here in the West of using Ayurvedic principles and Ayurvedic cooking and you know that actually I think has been one of the positive byproducts of being in
In fact, there are tremendous positive fallouts of COVID. A few deaths, I mean, a few deaths from the point of view of God, it's just a few deaths. A few lakh deaths is nothing much. But if it has taught a new lesson to the entire civilization, that's a big lesson. And well, when nature takes over, when
Yes.
nature wants to correct, it has its own ways. And this is a very funny way of correcting the human beings that nature found, but it has done a lot.
Yes, I agree. It feels to me almost like living in a parallel universe, you know. So many of my clients have said these last 4 or 5 months have been the best in their lives. Of course, they're not in fear or pain or loss, but to segue on what I just said, I wonder if you feel like commenting on the beautiful planetary combinations in mid-September. I think there are, for a brief moment in time in mid-September of 2020, there are 7 out of 9 planets in dignity of some sort. And according to what I've seen, this hasn't happened for hundreds and hundreds of years in the past, and also will not reform for hundreds and hundreds of years in the future. Now, I don't know if there's the appearance of a new avatar. That would be nice. But do you have any thoughts at all about the potential?
No, I haven't studied the transit position of that time that you are mentioning. But all I can say is that I have heard a lot of predictions in the past when there are 7 planets getting together or 8 planets getting together, or let's say, one house or one Rashi becomes heavily loaded and the other Rashis are vacant and things like that. And
Yeah.
astrologers have predicted all kinds of catastrophes and nothing has happened.
Yes.
And bad things keep happening even without such heavy one-sided transits. So I wouldn't be too alarmed, but I haven't studied it, so I shouldn't really be making comments. Maybe after I study it, I also get alarmed and do something. I'm not much of a transit guy actually, and
Really?
I just do transits for the immediate purpose. If there is a consultation, then I do the immediate transit and for a few months later and a few months back. But essentially, transit is something which, I give priority to the dasha rather than the transit. And transit is only just a supportive thing for me, though I realize that I must learn more about transit and how to use them, which you, the Western astrologers, are such experts at.
Well, that's because all the other systems are too complicated, speaking only for myself. But just for clarity, Vinay, what I was saying was that there are 7 out of 9 planets in their dignity. And for my, I'm kind of naive, I guess, with 4 planets in Pisces. I'm thinking, the way I look at this is I'm looking at that as a very powerful, positive indicator somehow. I just tack on that idea of somehow. So, oh no, I'm looking forward to that. Yes, there's enough problems in the world. We can see that, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn and things like that. But I mean, from my personal point of view, I'm telling each of my clients to pay attention to their own thoughts in mid-September and see what we can do with this rare combination of positive planets, positive for once. Even though I just said, my perception of this is that we're living in a parallel universe. There's so much fear and pain and there's so many huge problems out there. However, there's also this period of bliss and joy that a lot of people are going through, like you just mentioned. But now I'm wondering if we should switch our focus to do you want to offer anything that I haven't questioned you about, or do one of our listeners wants to know what your process is for looking at an individual chart. Would you like to share that with us? How you look at the client's chart across the board?
You see, I don't do what I teach. So,
okay.
but teaching is different from preaching.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, when it comes to teaching or preaching, my very simple formula is that you start with the lagna, and then the second house, then the third house, then the fourth house onwards. And when you look at any house, look at the house lord, and look at the house karaka, and see their conjunctions, aspects, and this and that, and the nakshatra, etc., etc. So you go very systematically with that, so that you don't go wrong, and so that you don't miss out any important clue. But that is for teaching and preaching, and I think for young students of astrology, that discipline is necessary.
Right.
But I think for those who are more experienced people, they would probably jump onto something that is glaring in the chart. That what an experienced astrologer might call glaring may not be so glaring for a learner. A new learner. We are all learners, but some are newer than us, some are older. So, so you naturally begin to focus on that, and then everything like these days, I get a kick out of studying the 3 dispositors of any planet.
Okay.
The first dispositor, which is very commonly used by most people, is the Rashi dispositor, the sign dispositor.
Right.
Like Jupiter, when it goes to Capricorn, its dispositor would be Saturn.
Yes.
Yeah. So there would be a wonderful Nichbhanga Raja Yoga there. So it's not necessary that people who have Capricorn in their difficult positions, they would certainly have a bad experience. I don't think so. Because it's a Nichbhanga, and it's a Nichbhanga is a Raja Yoga. So they might experience something nice about where their Capricorn is falling. But leave that aside. I was talking about the dispositors. The second dispositor, which I have learned to give very high importance, is to the nakshatra dispositor.
Oh, okay.
This planet is in the, whose nakshatra is it? And where is that placed? Is it supporting the original planet? Is it well aligned with that planet? What is the condition of that nakshatra lord? So that is the second dispositor which we must use. And the third dispositor is the Navansh dispositor.
Okay.
So the Navansh dispositor is the finest, the microscopic view of the whole thing, because the Rashi dispositor is the lords over 30 degrees. The Nakshatra dispositor lords over 13 degrees 20 minutes. And the Navansha does it only for 3 degrees 20 minutes. So it's a much finer aspect of a particular planet. So see how are these three dispositors supporting or unsupporting the original planet that is under consideration. And if the alignment is good, the prosperity would be there, or let's simply say that that planet will do good to you, and in its dasha and in its aspects, this, that, everything, it would do a good job. So often we don't understand why is this planet not giving the results as we are envisaging. But that happens when we do not evaluate the complete story behind a particular planet. And these three dispositors reveal that part. That how well is this child going to be looked after by its three protectors? That's the job of the dispositors.
Well, I love that. That's straightforward. Even I can understand that. That's really, that's a very, I've already learned so much in our conversation. Thank you for that. So to, I think, Vinay, that there are some other people on board that want to contribute something about you. I wonder if our
Sure,
if this is the time to do that.
Yeah, I could cue that up, Charlotte. Thank you.
Okay.
There are some of the long-time associate of Vinay ji who are on this call, and we would like to invite them to maybe ask some pointing questions or just share something about Vinay ji with us, right? So before I do that, however, I just wanted to quickly say I have put this in the chat as well. We are running a quick Twitter contest. That's a surprise, that I was talking about Vinay ji and Charlotte earlier, right? And Meenu, if you could please, flash that picture. When we were researching for this talk, we came across this picture that was shared by Rajiv Jhanji ji, and I looked at it and I said, pretty interesting expressions on both of their faces, right? So we are running a contest on the Twitter. Please go ahead and on the Arsh Jyotish Twitter account, this is available. Provide a caption for it, and as Charlotte said earlier, Vinay ji's Ashtakavarga book is one to keep for any Jyotish enthusiast. So the most funny caption will get a copy of the book of Vinay ji. So please go ahead, go crazy, go wild, provide your funny comments on the tweet, and we will have the winner announced in about a week's time, hopefully by next Sunday. All right. So with that, out of the way, I would actually like to invite Gudrun, if you are still here, Gudrun. Gudrun has been working with Vinay ji for multiple years now, and she's the one who runs a certification course in Germany on Vedic astrology, and associates very closely with Vinay ji. So over to you, Gudrun, if you're still here.
Yeah, hello. I hope you can see me, and Emil is there as well, my grandson. That's why I couldn't follow the whole session. So I hope he stops it now. So Emil, please. He doesn't understand English. So I want
to remind you that when you were being interviewed, I said some very nice things about you.
So Vinay, do you really think I would risk our nearly 20-year friendship by saying something really
No,
dark?
no, I thought it is necessary to remind you.
And even if I wanted to, I wouldn't know what negative I should come up with the best will in the world. So as you can see here on this picture, Vinay has been part of our conference, and we had so much really good time together in terms of studying Jyotish. And I think, just as Charlotte mentioned now, she was learning already. Charlotte always learned driving from the airport back to Bad Kreuznach, which was about an hour. And when we had the most fantastic talks, and generally speaking, I was very carefully listening, and Vinay was revealing knowledge to me already. And then we also had that very, very nice personal relationship when Vinay found my daughter an internship with a Delhi newspaper, and she could stay with them, and they treated her like their daughter. So I could really run a long list on the personal level. I think apart from your eldest son, I know everyone in your family, Vinay, and I still hope to meet Animesh at some stage. And the other thing is also, Vinay never ceased to surprise me with his very, very interesting way of teaching. So he came up with really new method with brilliant ideas, and he has shaped the students in Germany more than any other teacher. Sometimes I believe even more than me, and I'm grateful for that. So I'm very happy to to put myself into the second row there. So maybe I use this situation, this so many people listening, to just thank you for everything you have done for our community here in Germany, and also for me on a personal, on a colleague, on a friendship level. You have been a little bit like a father to all the people who did the exams here in Europe, and they appreciate your authority, and they also everyone says how warm and clear and fair you treat everyone. So it's really a great blessing for me, Vinay, to know you for such a long time, and I really hope that our relationship continues for much longer. And Asha Vidya is very much blessed with having you, but they know that anyway, I guess.
Thanks a lot, Gurun. Those were really nice comments.
Yes, very nice.
Could I request Rajiv Jhanji ji as well to chime in? He is the one in the picture in the contest. You know, maybe you could provide some insight into what was going on in that picture.
Namaskar, Vinay ji.
Namaskar, Rajiv.
So this is a picture that was taken when Dr. B.V. Raman was felicitated, and so we presented a felicitation award to him, and photographer wanted us to be captured during that time. So it's very old picture, 1991, about 30 years ago.
So once upon a time, we were young.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, Vinay told you about Chaya Shastri, and he was looking for a cross on the Jupiter Mount of the girl he wanted to marry. So Vinay had moved from Bombay to Delhi, and this is in 1981, 40 years ago. So he interviewed me for a job. He had started a new setup, typesetting. And after the technical questions, he asked me, "Can I look at your hand?" I said, "Okay." So he checked my palms, didn't say anything, and then he hired me. I never clarified what he looked in my palms and he for some reason in the palms. Or so Vinay, maybe you can answer that.
I think Vinay is probably having a little bit hard time hearing. He said in the beginning that he was having a little bit hard
No,
time.
I am hearing.
Okay.
So what was that? What was that last question?
So I was saying my palm, and then he hired me. So I never clarified in last 40 years whether he hired me for some reason in my palm or whether he hired me for the technical expertise.
Well, Rajiv, I was not exposed to your technical expertise at the time of your interview. I came to know of your technical expertise and the way your mind works in the subsequent years. So you came with a very good reference, and then the palm is the best representative of a person. And even today, I'm a fan of your palm. You have absolutely wonderful palm, and you have so many wonderful features of your palm that your palm appears on in my book on palmistry.
So our association with Vinay grew, and he got interested in astrology in 1989, I would guess. And he joined Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. And he used to come next day and tell good stories about astrology. So one day I grabbed him and asked him, okay, tell me what are the fundamentals of astrology. So he gave me an overview of planets, houses, and different planets moving in the houses and meaning of houses. So I said, okay, I'm also interested. So from next session, I also joined him. So later on in 90s, we went ahead, started, at that time, there were not many good books on astrology. And most of the books were either in Hindi language or some books written from South India. So first we started um printing uh, lectures by different teachers. And later on, we printed and published books by K.N. Rao, Dr. Charak. Vinay wrote a book on Ashtakavarga. Then I wrote a book on Yogini Dasha. And we also published books of, I guess, Deepak Kapoor. And later on, we went into software development. Then we started publish magazine Vedic Astrology. This we roped in Dr. Charak to edit it, and this continued for 11 years. And Vinay regularly contributed articles on misgivings in astrology, like um, different topics like Mangal Dosh or Sade Sati. And then later on, he serialized articles on Ashtakavarga. And this magazine continued for 11 years, but there were timeless articles in the magazine that we have started compiling in the form of book, and it's called Vedic Astrology Digest. And we plan to bring out about 6 or 7 volumes. So volume 1 is available on Amazon, and we guess subsequent volume 2 and 3 should be out. 2 should be out in next couple of months, and 3 should follow. And this is a good collection of articles where Vinay contributed a lot of it, along with Dr. Charak. So once Vinay jokingly just says that I moved into his life when my Mercury Dasha started, and I left him when my Mercury ended. So that's my story with Vinay.
Oh, that's lovely. Here's a
So it
copy
was
of
a
your wonderful book.
17-year-long association.
Was that Rajiv's book, Charlotte, that you just showed?
Yes, yes. I've been trying to understand this for about 10 years.
We have to bring Rajiv to talk about it as well. Yes.
Yeah, there's a new edition now available with much expanded version on Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we need to have a fairly long series of lectures from you, Rajiv, on that. All right, we are nearing to the end. So I would quickly want to call on Dr. Charak and Rakesh Sharma to kind of chime in as well. On your association with Vinay, and if you have anything specific to say. Dr. Sharak or Rakesh, if you guys are still here.
Do I have to say something? Because it has been said. The only thing I can add here is that if these two people were not there, Vinay and Rajiv, I would either not have written so many books or would not have written that quality of books. Because these people, one, they improved the quality of our writing and our presentation. And Rajiv was actually the force. He could, push you into writing. So he was the one force. I don't know whether he affected Vinay that way, but most of my work, he was behind me. And because this magazine was a big job, Rajiv would not contribute many articles. He had contributed in the beginning, but later he stopped doing that. But he would certainly, push me to bring it out on time. I could have been pretty bad in bringing it out in time, but then he did that. And after he left, Vinay, of course, was a constant sport, and we continued till the year 2007 when we completed 11 years. And after that, actually, I became so busy that I couldn't continue with it. But I do continue to have support of Vinay also and Rajiv also. And whatever work we are still doing, we are almost doing it together. And I think about astrology and his proficiency and so on, about Vinay's, about Vinay, that things have been said, and that goes without saying. There is so much of evidence there that I don't have to add to that. And I hope that our association continues and continues fruitfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sharak. Rakesh, if you're around.
Yeah. So I'm. So Vinayji basically wrote a book on dots of destiny, and I met him in Delhi and saw the book. So at that time, meaning I didn't know many the dots of destiny, Ashtakavarga. So we thought we should organize this Ashtakavarga class, and we did a couple of years later. But the biggest compliment people gave to him is that his teaching style. Even the people who do not understand, and he has enormous patience to answer questions, even though they may not be relevant to the topic. But he had, so most of the students, they always praised him that has the best teaching ability out of all, because he takes care of every single person, whatever they have the issue. And even the lowest common denominator person who doesn't have any idea, he will very quietly explain to them what the topic is. So that is his strength. And since I think he's coming from 2000, or I don't remember when,
2000.
yeah, 2000 onwards. So every year he has been coming. I think 1 year maybe he did not show up, and that is because of the popular demand that everybody thinks he is part. So I said yes, he is the organizer, because all our brochures were designed by him, other than last year when Rajiv Jhanji designed it. But every year he was the one who designed the brochure, and I'm staying with him for last 20 years, maybe not 20 years, maybe 18 years. So when I go to Delhi, that is the place where I stay and discuss astrology, and all his family members think that they should show their horoscope to me, because he has different opinion about everybody. So both children and his wife, they expect me to predict about them rather than Vinayji. But it has been a great association, and also IIT Kanpur, that we both were there, and it is I really had a great time bringing him here and his teaching style, which impresses everybody because of the patience he has with the students. Actually, few students told me that he's the best teacher you bring. I said that is great news. So that is the reason he has been coming all these years and teaching at Arshavidya.
Yeah, and I think, Rakesh, thanks for saying that. I think I can corroborate that based on the feedback that we have been getting for the online classes as well. There are a lot of people who came to Vinayji's online classes late, like after 4 or 5 classes had already gotten over. But they were so kind of impressed by the quality of teaching and the style of teaching, as you rightly said, that they just wanted to get along. And we are now running the second session on nakshatras. The introduction to Jyotish is over, and we are running the nakshatra and chart analysis currently, and the response is the same. People just love his classes. So I think anybody who is looking to learn from a compassionate and a patient teacher, you have found your your search ends here.
Yeah, I would like to add very few about this one is like, during this time when I'm running these webinars, I'm getting a lot of feedback, and obviously I cannot bring all the feedback over here, but just for Vinay Aditya, I definitely want to, I was sending it through the text to Vinay Aditya from WhatsApp, and you could not see that. So I'm getting a lot of these good feedbacks, like, Vinay Aditya is a brilliant Jyotish. So I just picked up few of those and just wanted to say it from the students of them, and they wanted to send it across to Vinay is the approach, the way he goes into the detail of the chart and explaining more from a student perspective is what I'm getting the most feedback from. That it's a fantastic it's so fantastic with the explaining and teaching the fundamental of astrology so systematically that they are really impressed with. And also there are many questions they have in their mind despite being a advanced student. So interestingly, the students who were there in the class of introduction to Jyotish and the intermediate of Jyotish were not at a beginner level. They were all pretty much at an advanced level, but they really enjoyed those classes. So that part was very interesting. And they are saying they had many questions in their mind which got explained when Vinay is walking through the fundamentals with them. So it's very interesting. So thanks a lot for bringing that. And that's the same case with me as well. So I thought that I know a lot, but when I'm doing the classes, I think I have to revise a lot of other things. And in that journey, we definitely started with the introduction and the intermediate, which I'm talking about, and many more standalone webinars which we have done in the past, what you are seeing on the screen right now, but the many more to come, and on and off webinars coming up. So few of them become really very famous, like one of them I can say is the Rishi Kapoor's webinar became very famous, and the Sushant Singh webinar became very famous, and that Astrological, where the people was really waiting for those ones. Lot of question got asked when the Vinay was walking us through is the Rahu is Sanivat. So many questions got asked on that one, how while the way the logic which has been put together was wonderful. So currently we have this nakshatras class going on, which people are really enjoying, kind of going from the basic of the each nakshatras, and then there will be an advanced topic of the nakshatras will be coming up. And over here, I do like to ask a few questions to Vinay about what is his plan for the Jyotish Mela conference, like, what topic he would like to cover in those. So, definitely want to get that feeling from Vinay, if you would like to speak a little bit more about that. Vinay, could you hear us?
Yeah, but I'll answer that question separately.
Sure.
Not as a part of this exercise.
Sure, Vinay, that's all right. Fine. So with that, now back to you, Charlotte. Or Saurabh, do you have anything else to cover from our side?
No, I think we are sort of out of time now. So yeah, if Charlotte has any
Yes.
parting comments, or if anybody needs to say anything, quickly, let's open
Sure.
open the floor. Otherwise, we'll get back to Charlotte and then back to Raniji for the closing mantra.
Sure.
Well, I would just like to say that it's been such an honor for me to be with you and to hear about your life and your ideas, Vinay ji. I'm still going to call you Vinay ji. It's been a real privilege it's been a really lively conversation, and I just from my position as the president of the American College of Vedic Astrology, I'm delighted that we can have this kind of this collaboration, and our mission is to educate about the beautiful profundity of this wonderful sacred science of astrology, and to support the Jyotirvidya. So I see you're right there in the front lines, and I'm glad to be on your team, and I'm grateful for the medium that we're the Zoom medium, and so I'll just leave it at that. I'm appreciative and honored to contribute. So that's what I have to say on this beautiful Sunday.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
Jyoti ji.
Lovely. I will, before we close, I wanted to just read one chat, one message coming in the chat is more about lucky from Rajiv Sharma ji, saying that the lucky enough to learn astrology from both Dr. Charak and Vinay Aditya ji, the way they both teach and clarify the fundamentals so systematically. So thank you so much to be a part of this series as well.
Oh, very nice.
Thanks for reading that out. I am seeing that Michael Coney is on the attendee list as well. Michael has been involved with Arsha Vidya and with Jyotish Mila for a very, very long time as well. Thanks, Michael, for joining. I don't know if you have any quick comment.
I have a story if there's time for it, unless Zoom is going to cut us off.
We are out of time, but please go ahead. I think those who are staying around, maybe they can stay around for a little longer.
Did you say go ahead?
Yes,
yeah.
Vinay taught his famous 1 week Ashtakavarga course. People who were there will be familiar with this. Back in the year 2000 in the summer, and I think there was 9 people in the class. And at the end of the class, we had discussed the charts of Bush versus Gore and the coming election in November. And Vinay said, everyone now has to vote. You have to vote not based on your political thought, but on Ashtakavarga.
Right.
So the class was split down the middle. It was 5-4, I think. And we all thought we must be terrible students because we're not all coming to the same conclusion. And Vinay voted the other, one way, and it became even. But what were the results of the election for those that remember? The results were one person won in the electoral vote, and the other one won the popular. And it was so close that ultimately it had to be decided in the courts. Ultimately, the Supreme Court of the United States decided the results of the election and went toward Bush. And it reflected exactly what the results of the class were split.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Michael, I did not vote because I don't have a vote in the American system. and the class was evenly distributed. Exactly equal number of people voted for and against Bush.
I thought
so. The result was phenomenal, and it was one of the best classes for me also, and that was my first class at the Arsh Vidya Gurukulam. One subject for the entire week.
Wow.
That was it. Great. It was a great class.
Wow. Very nice.
Yeah, Michael has been coming since we started the class, so last 25 years and going. So we honored him last year for attending 25 years of classes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So should we go more towards the concluding the session, Saurav, or do you want to get
Yes,
some?
I mean, unless somebody else wants to chime in, I think no, we are way out of time. Yes, please.
Okay. So do somebody wants to, you can always send me your questions offline in ms@jyotish. And if if you have something, you can definitely shout out at this time. I will definitely say, you can switch on video and you can talk. Just wait for a minute, and if not, I will pass it over to Raniji for the concluding prayers.
So just one comment that in
Sure.
Ashtakavarga, unlike other classes, we do very intensive classes. So unlike other places, we have done minimum 10 days. We started with 5-day classes, but now we have been doing 11 to 14-day class, which is unheard of in Jyotish, even in India. So this is the unique thing about Ashtakavarga Jyotish, that we cover the topic very intensively, very intensively, and they go from 9 in the morning to 9 in the night every day. So people are really interested in Jyotish. So that is what I wanted to just add. I'm Rakesh Sharma. Thanks.
Thank you, Rakesh, for sharing that. So with that, I will just pass it over to Rani ji with our closing prayers, because we are getting really ahead of the time which we promised.
Yes, Meenakshi. I would just like to say one couple of sentences.
Sure.
I've been a student of Vinay ji for a long time now, and all the webinars, all his online classes, and in the Mela, I've enjoyed them so much. And I think something from the Shastra sums him up and his education up, which is Vidya Dadati Vinayam. And that means education gives humility. And Vinayam means humility. And I think Vinayji lives up to that name, despite his depth and breadth and of knowledge. He teaches with so much simplicity, clarity, patience, and compassion. And I've learned so much from Vinayji. Vinayji, I really am fortunate to have you teach us. And also hats off to Dr. Charakji for his beautiful teaching. Thank you, Ashtakavarga, for arranging all these classes. Thank you. I'll end with the prayer.
Thank you, Raniji. Yes, please.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Raniji. I think before we close, there is a small comment, Vinayji, just for you from the Karishma Bhagwat. So I will just read it, because she is saying that he is a teacher who holds your hand, opens your mind, and touches your heart with the smiling face. So I just don't wanted to just stop for a minute and talk about it. But that's it. Thanks a lot for everybody for joining. Thanks a lot, Charlotte, for being here with us and be able to conduct this interview. And thank you, Vinayji, for having patience.
Thank you, everybody.
And doing so much of talking for us. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.